GM, welcome to what's going to be another great episode of DevNTell. So, if you didn't know, DevNTell is a 30-minute podcast held every Friday, allowing founders, hackers, and anyone in between an opportunity to come on the show and showcase their product. And today, I'm ecstatic to welcome Makoto Kern, who's the founder of iiimpact.io. So, if you didn't know, Impact helps companies co-create efficient, structured, and strategic software development processes that make targets, optimize internal productivity, and improve your bottom line and operational management. If you stick around for today's episode, you'll see Makoto give us an engaging talk around software development, perhaps some spicy takes on AI and crypto, and also tell us how his firm is a cheat code for your success. All right, let's get into it. Jim, welcome to the show, Makoto. Thank you so much for for sure.
Yeah, awesome. Excited to be here.
Yeah, excited to have you on. I know you were telling me you have quite the tenure in the software development space, spanning crypto, AI, and traditional software development. So, really excited to kind of get your perspective on the industry as a whole, and just learn a little bit more about Impact and the work you do there. But I guess before we get into all that awesome stuff, did you just want to give a brief introduction about yourself?
Yeah, definitely. I am the principal consultant, product strategy and UX design consultant, and the founder of Impact. We've been consulting for the past 20 plus years. Mostly started off as a UX design firm, but really grown ourselves into kind of a full holistic product strategy. Basically, our key terminology is what we say is from boardroom to code. And so we've helped enterprise software companies, startups, everything to really become more user-centered focused versus feature-centered focused. And we've been on the Inc. 5000 3 years in a row. We've experienced awesome growth. Started a business in Chicago and its headquarters in Austin, Texas right now. And so, we've helped out almost every company, every industry, primarily enterprise, but also conversion, B2C applications as well.
That's amazing. That's quite the repertoire of of industries that you guys support. And I guess just curious, how did you find yourself in tech? What was kind of the driving force of you coming into this industry and you ending up founding a consulting company?
Definitely. My background has always been a kind of a nerd at engineering. My dad was a science teacher, so I always wanted to be an astronaut. So I always read his astronomy books, his high school astronomy books when I was in a little grade school kid, and knew everything about the stars. But I got into electrical engineering and robotics, got my bachelor's in electrical engineering, my master's in robotics, and did that for about a decade. Got a lot into manufacturing and lean manufacturing because that's kind of where all the automation was at that time. And it was where I think I got the UX bug of where I had to really optimize software for people on the manufacturing floor. Versus basically the software is designed by engineers for engineers, but people on the manufacturing floor aren't that technical. So if they're shipping 1,000 widgets and they miss something on the screen, you've got to rework those widgets. So my job was to really optimize and make sure they saw things and it was really helpful or easy for them to use. And so that kind of naturally progressed me into really thinking about, okay, what's the user experience when they're actually working with software? And, I've always had the entrepreneurial bug in me. I've always read the magazines and everything since I was in college and loved everybody's story. I don't care if you're a chef or a plumber or whatever. Just, I loved hearing startup stories. And I got to a point where it was the .com boom at that time. And I was doing websites on the side. I was going to Craigslist. I was finding jobs. I found one of my biggest jobs, my first biggest jobs there with a company called Turtle Wax. People probably know them. They supply different oil and stuff, and they have a sister company where we actually created a Flash website of this interactive garage. Really cool stuff that I think they had it on there for 8 years or something like that. But I remember just like hustling every day. I was driving through Chicago traffic for a couple hours and just making phone calls to people, talking about their website and seeing what we can do. And yeah, I was doing SEO, just the full gambit to a point where, I was able to quit my job. I got a big consulting role, and was doing still a lot of work on the side, just building my company up. And then just, once I got to Austin, that's kind of where it really blew up. Got one of my biggest clients who are still our client to this day for over a decade. They're an energy company. And, we've been really focused on, we like really understanding that, like I said, the journey of not just being a UX design firm handing off pretty wireframes, but actually like trying to solve from the top level up the product strategy piece. So yeah, that's kind of how the journey started and where we're at.
That's amazing. That's yeah, like, just showing that startup founder hustle, and yeah, it's like you never know what's gonna happen. The key is just to stay consistent, and then
Oh
one
yeah. I
one
mean,
day.
the imposter syndrome that I had at that point. I mean, I felt like there's so many designers that had been doing it, went to college for it. I was an engineer, so I just wanted to figure things out. But I was so technical versus the design side. I didn't have the traditional like visual design piece. But I love cognitive psychology, and I love the just the software, the human machine interface kind of, or interaction piece. And it just it got to that point where like I was just constantly trying to learn. I love reading stuff. It's the kind of thing where they say, follow your passion. Sure, that's easy to do, but you got to make money. But when I actually like loved what I did, it made it easy for me to always constantly just soak up everything like a sponge. So it was a nervous grind, but I mean, God, for the first 10 years, I was probably working 7 days a week. I don't know how many hours, but I loved it.
Yeah, it's not work if you love what you do. So,
Yeah.
right? Uh, and yeah, I mean, it sounds like your firm helps enterprises basically um, get out of their own way, so to speak.
Yep.
Did you want to kind of go into the different types of companies your firm helps with, and the different types of things it helps with?
Yeah, definitely. And this is where I think, especially now with the day and age of AI, back in the .com boom and bust days, the push has always been to be feature focused. What can we build? What kind of features can we build? Once we build it, they're going to come. It's like we're going to make millions as soon as we throw AI into here, and that's not the case. Um, Apple made it super like user center focused is the most important thing. What kind of pain points are you solving for the user? What kind of friction are you taking away from the user when they're trying to accomplish a goal or a task? And so, again, I feel like we're kind of devolving back with AI. Now it's like, oh, just throw AI into our app. Everybody's going to love it. We're going to make millions. And, that's where I feel we could get into some of that little AI bubble froth that I think is forming right now. But, we've always like, sure, most companies will, when I talk to them at first, you could tell right away, they're like, hey, just give me pretty wireframes. We're handed off to dev and we're done. We don't need UX anymore. But the problem is, it's like the easiest way to think about this is like, if you are building a house and you just build it first, and then you ask the people to move in, and you're like, okay, what do you think? And now like, well, we don't want a two level, we want a single story, we want 4 bedrooms, not 5 bedrooms. And when you start to think about that, like, oh my God, changing it then is very expensive. It's the same with software. When I go into an organization and I see kind of what they're doing, and there's features that they've launched, they've spent months creating, tons of resources and money, and they realize their users don't even use it. And this is especially like when you're talking consumer facing, you're competing now against like 5 other companies that you could go to their website and buy the product. And so if you make it really hard and put a lot of friction into the process, they're just going to go somewhere else. Enterprise is a little different. They're kind of forced to use the software, but if you see how people use their enterprise software, they're going to go back to whatever habits they're used to. A lot of times people are used to their workflow. They've done it for several years. And if you introduce something brand new to them, they're going to be like, oh my God, what is this? And you disrupt their workflow and they actually won't like it. And so, when we go into organizations, we actually now we have a process where we understand what the business goals and objectives. We get leadership in a room. And this is where dealing with people and egos, this is where kind of our expertise is at, because it's almost like therapy for companies. And it's really hard to get through that ego when you're trying to make change from the bottom up. And so when we go into organizations, we have the leadership actually get in a room, because unless you're like maybe Tesla or Google or Amazon, most of the companies are so misaligned, poor communication. They assume a lot of things like, oh, everybody knows what our goals are. But when you actually get them in a room to make that decision, you realize that no, they don't. Everybody has a different idea. And so trying to understand what is our top line business goals or objectives, but then also make them user empathetic. And that's where it's like, okay, what are our biggest personas who are using our product? What are their pain points? What's their user journey look like? Tie that back to business goals. And then what you want to do at the end is like, okay, now you have a like 6 to 12 month roadmap of all the features. What features are like, we could just give it to development teams, and what are the features that are kind of risky, but we know they're high value. So let's prototype those, test those, and make sure we get them right before we spend a ton of money and energy into building them. And so once you do that, that's kind of like our holistic process. But it's amazing that even though we've launched hundreds of digital products over the last 20 years, and we kind of know all the ins and outs and the problems and the issues that come with it, and the scalability is a big thing. You see so many people still want to just say, hey, just give me the wireframes. Like, you've only built one product. How do you know? Why would you want to do that? But that's just what they're comfortable with. So yeah, I mean, it's like, we're half design and strategy, but we're also half therapy session for a company. So it's really interesting when you get into these companies and you see the progress of what they make.
Yeah, certainly. And that's an interesting frame of mind to kind of come at it with. Like, you guys say you have this cheat code
Mhm.
for a company's success. Would you say this therapy kind of approach to it is this cheat code, or is there more to it?
Yeah, I mean, it's again, when we do this process, it was basically like a workshop sprint that we get in first. A lot of companies they'll pad how much they think it'll cost to do wireframes for 6 months, or create a brand new kind of like idea or design or product. It's hard to gauge what that is based on just some idea or maybe a walkthrough of an application. And so I try to be a lot more fair and tell the company, like, look, let's have a date first. Let's get to know things. But I also want you to understand, like, if I don't understand these things up front, the actual product strategy and your business goals and your development constraints, I can't honestly give you a right assumption of what the design process is going to look like, because you can churn. If I go to like 3 of your SMEs or your product owners and I get 3 different ideas, I'm churning, and then all of a sudden it goes up to the top, and then the CEO says, no, I want to do something different, which happens a lot more than you think. This is something that will just cause frustration, scope creep, and everything else. And so, a lot of times too, your product people now, I mean, product owners and product people weren't really like such a glue, but now they are. But they can make or break your company. If you have bad product owners, you're going to have a product that's going to lag behind. So when I say like the cheat code, it's basically like, because we go into our organization, what we're trying to do, we actually shortcut a way in which this communication kind of sprint that we do, it's only like 2 to 3 days. And within those 2 to 3 days, we save months of headaches and scope creep and churn. But also when you get actually launch, users will actually want to use it. So not only do you save time, you save a ton of money, and you're pretty confident, in what you're launching that people will use. I don't know how many times I've seen features that have been launched and the users don't even want to use it. And so they're surprised because that's another thing. When you do UX research, a lot of times these companies are like, oh, let me just show it on a screen with a group of people and then get the feedback. And that's not the right way to get user feedback, because you're in a group think situation. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. The guy who is the hippo in the room, I call it, highest paid person, is going to have the most influence. And the other people might just, not say anything. And so this becomes problematic. And it's a common theme that I see with immature companies where they're trying to launch product and they do it the same, and they have the same mistakes. And I see it all the time. And now with AI, you could vibe code your way, you could prompt your way into copy your competitors very quickly. So sure, this is a thing I always say, like a high tide raises all boats. So if you're using AI and your competitors are using AI, well, you're both are kind of like a null kind of advantage. But if you don't have speed and direction when you're building your product, you will get behind very quickly. But you also have to have continuous improvement, because your competitors are also trying to improve on things, and they'll just copy your thing right away. So it's like you have to have all these things working consistently in order to stay ahead of your competition. So that's why I call it the cheat code.
Yeah, and well explained, well said. And you touched on the AI vibe coding. I want to get into that in just a little bit, but I did see a very interesting stat on your website where it said around 73% of enterprise software products fail.
Mhm.
And you kind of touched on some of the things that are the cause of that. But what would you say is the most common things you've seen in your time in this field that you're like, man, what are you doing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say 99% of our clients that we get into, of that 73% that fail, they are just misaligned. I mean, they just want to jump right into wireframes. And I don't know how many times I keep telling, this is where you're going to see a lot of CTOs take charge of the product, because if something is very technical, the CTO has full reign of the product side of things. And immediately I could tell you that's not going to work in an organization setup, because the dev team is worried about getting that backlog fixed or finished. And if there's a component that takes 10 hours versus a component that takes 100 hours, of course they're going to choose the 10 hours, although it may be very detrimental to the user experience. Their goal is to get rid of that backlog ticket. So that's why you need separation, because then if you have product to say, wait a minute, let's not do it that way. Maybe there's an in-between that we can figure out. And that way it doesn't detriment the user experience. And then just think, if you have multiple dev teams, multiple product teams working in the same application, this dev team decides to do one thing one way, and then another page is looking a different way. As the user's going through, they're like, wait a minute, how come this is set up differently? It's the same application. You cause cognitive load on the user, frustration, and they go back to what they're used to doing. And so that's kind of where you see projects fail, is because of that. And they waste their time building these features in the wrong way, and they never track the actual metrics. People think, oh, let's just tracking metrics is good for like B2C companies, where we're tracking conversion rates, how long is people, their path, and how many people hit our page and how many people bounce. But it's actually, in enterprise software, you want to track time on task, you want to track NPS scores, you want to track a lot of these things, the learning curve, because these are all costs to you. And then your sales team can say, hey, look, we've actually saved time because you learn things much faster. You get to what you need to get to much faster than competitor B over here. And so that's kind of where it's just the same repeatable pattern that I see all the time. So if I'm able to get through to them, I could reduce that 73% failure rate by a huge margin.
Interesting. Yeah. And yeah, I guess folks watching today, like, there's your today I learned. But yeah, it sounds like people tend to get in their own way of doing things and kind of take the easy path.
Whatever's comfortable, even if it's a bad
whatever's
habit.
comfortable.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's hard to shake those habits. I think it takes like 2 weeks or something to form a habit,
Yep.
and I'm not sure how long it'll take to get rid of it and habit.
Oh god, I mean,
Especially that habit.
especially
Yeah,
when
yeah,
egos are involved, if you're at a high level and the company's riding on your decisions, are you gonna do something that's uncomfortable? Probably not. The only way you do that is once you fail and be like, "Okay, this didn't work out. Let's try something else. Let's get a consultant that has actually launched, hundreds of products versus me that have been in the same software for the last 7 years." You know? It's
right.
but it's funny. I mean, it's just egos will trump people's like rational decisions.
Yeah,
So,
most
yeah,
definitely.
it's
Yeah.
yeah.
To be human, to be human.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah, and just to shift the conversation a little bit,
Mhm,
I want to go into AI a bit, and then you also mentioned you've been in crypto around since 2017. So interested to get your perspective on this industry as well. But just around this whole notion of vibe coding, I mean, it's taken the software industry and the weekend hacker space kind of by
mhm.
storm. We see a lot of startups kind of taken off. A lot of Y Combinator applicants get into the program with at least a first MVP vibe coded. Like, and actually, we've also seen quite a bit of security insecure projects kind of landing in the space. There was this one, I think it was called like T or something, where they had like an open API that like
Mhm. Oh, yeah,
revealed
yep.
a lot of people, basically everyone's like locations and whatnot. Um, just wanted to get kind of your perspective of these types of companies and projects that are kind of starting up, perhaps not having as much of a tenure in software development, and kind of where you're seeing some of these projects where you think they'll kind of end up without having a proper set of eyes kind of go through and patch up these security holes.
Yeah, definitely. So, AI has been great for, doing repetitive tasks, analyzing large data sets, and really, if you have a large gap in a certain area or knowledge, it helps fill in that gap per se. Um, but when it comes to like, it's interesting. I just recently released a new or a LinkedIn post about this. I kind of coined the term like a what do they call it? It's called like an AI competence mirage. And the thing is when you're using AI, let's say you're a developer and you're using AI, but you're using it for, let's say, I need to come up with a marketing plan or I need to figure out design for something. Um, you feel like, oh wow, this is a huge magic box that just told me everything. I don't need a designer. I don't need a marketing person. I could figure this all out now just with AI. But the problem is you have a massive gap of what you actually think it is. But then on the flip side, if I'm a designer, I said, hey, code me this. Oh, I don't need a front end developer. I don't need a back end coder. That coder is going to look at that code and say, yeah, I don't think so. It's great to start off with, but it's not really where you can get rid of me. And so that competence mirage is where your knowledge gap in something is limiting. So you think that you filled out a gap that through AI. And I think what's happening with the executives, they have a lot of gaps in certain things, especially in companies where maybe I don't know how many times I've seen executives where they've not launched a product, or maybe they've launched one and they don't know the ins and outs. They're not a developer. They're not a designer. They're just good at business. And so they think like, oh my God, I just vibe coded an app. And this, let's get rid of 90% of our dev team and the design team. We don't need it. And they don't realize, no, you actually need more people. And because of these like reasons of security, privacy, if you use AI and you don't have a senior level person checking what's being produced, you're going to launch an app and then you're going to get hacked and then you're going to get sued to death. And just like the T app, they're getting sued left and right because of their privacy issues. And if you're getting into anything with health or education or whatever, if you don't protect that code, you're out. I mean, you're going to be pretty much sued to death. And so I think hackers they're using AI to break into things and force multiplying their efforts. And so now you're seeing I'm actually in Las Vegas right now, and their DMV has been shut down for 3 days because of their systems were hacked. And this is going to be in every every DMV system across the state, across the United States, because all the systems are pretty archaic. And so, sure, you're launching a vibe coded app, which seems like it's on a newer tech stack, but in all reality, if I get a senior dev and they look at two different things of code, one's hand coded by someone good, one's vibe coded, I guarantee it's like looking at AI slop. They can tell right away the difference. And so, use it to come up with like ideas faster, use it to bounce things that you think, and then help you along the way. But to think that you're going to do more with less people, especially good people, is just a fallacy, I think. And that's where, again, like if you're dealing with anything that involves people's even if it's a login and their passwords, I'm sure there's going to be a lawyer that loves to have a tort case against you and then make a quick 50 million, so you have to be careful.
Yeah. I totally agree. I think a lot of people are kind of getting too dependent on AI to do a lot of the things. Like personally, I see it as just like another tool in the toolkit. Like for me, like I love to use it to kind of just build the base of a new app, so I don't have to go through all that scaffolding, and I basically save a day or two, and then I
Yeah.
can actually concentrate on building the thing I want to build and solving the
Yep.
problem I want to solve. So it's definitely here to stay, but like I don't I'm with you. I don't think it's going to replace I don't think it's going to replace people. It's just going to um be another tool in the
Yep.
toolkit, so to speak. Yeah. And kind of bouncing now to crypto. I'm very curious to kind of get your take on the state of crypto and blockchain. Yeah, we don't be afraid to get a little bit spicy too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's I've been involved with it since 2017, so I've been heavily involved with just trading and did all that stuff. And it's sometimes you go back and forth, like, is this really a pyramid scheme? And am I just timing the bull run so then I can have somebody else holding the bags instead of me, because I figured out the timing of it. But I think with anything, with stocks, I mean, you see manipulation. There's regulation to avoid manipulation, but if something is like crypto is not heavily regulated, it can be easily manipulated. And you can see that very easily when you own a large amount. I mean, it's just all day long. I mean, even me being involved in it for such a long time, you still get emotional. You're like, oh my God, it's going to run, just buy. And you FOMO in or you FOMO out. And that's a big problem. It's like, I mean, bottom line, just buy when everybody's selling and sell when everybody's buying. I mean, it's a simple thing, but it's still, as an emotional person, it's hard to follow that pattern. But I mean, stock traders do it all day long. They have to avoid being emotional about it and just be smart about it and follow the same, discipline. But, I think there's definitely, from a technical side, engineering side, it's something that has been always great. I mean, from the Silk Road, I had friends that are like the good hackers or whatever. They told me about Silk Road and Bitcoin. They're like, just buy $5,000 worth of Bitcoin. This is like 2008 or something. I'm like, oh my God. But everybody ends up selling if you hold it for that long. You're like, oh, it went from $50 to $1,000. Okay, I sold, not knowing that if you should have held it. But most people won't. But I think I've got family involved in some of the big crypto companies, and just understanding like kind of that space. There's so much investment, so much money that's going into that space, and so many more people that are smarter than me and who are vested 100% trying to make that happen. There's definitely, it's not going away. And now with this administration that's so pro crypto, um, yeah, institutions are getting involved. So get ready for more manipulation. So I always say, like, it's just funny when you see all the YouTube channels of people about crypto, like, don't leverage in. I mean, unless you've got some kind of $1 million safety net, don't 100x in, because you're just going to get wrecked. But just if you have a conviction about something, I mean, what they say, if you would have just put it in Bitcoin and just hold it, it's like almost putting an S&P, and just, you'll beat most of the traders out there. Same way, if you just put it in Bitcoin and don't even look at it, you'll probably beat most of the traders out there. So if you want to try to, be a degenerate and degen in, buying all these crazy meme stocks and everything, go right ahead. But that's just like stress I don't even want to think about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's the macro conditions and all this stuff. I mean, just, what's the Fed's going to do? Is it following the M1 money supply? Is it following, tariffs? Is it this or that? Like, it is a roller coaster ride that I think most people can't handle. And again, this is my third cycle, and it's like, it's still hard. Like, okay, I don't even want to look at it anymore, because it's not easy to look at.
Yeah. You certainly, if you stay in it long enough, you kind of get numb to the big swings, the red
Yeah,
and green.
like a 10,
Yeah.
20%. Okay.
Yeah. It's very odd. It's like, typically, if you get like a 5 to 10% return on a stock or something, you're like, oh heck yeah, like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna sell. But like, you get 5 to 10% return on a meme coin, you're like, no, it's like nothing. Like, I wasted my time. I wanted like 100%,
Yeah.
1000% return.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Uh, and it's very interesting. Like, for all of the flock, that part of crypto gets, like, it's actually the first point of contact, like, a lot of people have when they want to come and explore the space. It's like the speculation side of it drives people in. Like, we have prediction markets now, and
Hmm.
poly market and some other ones, that are, um, basically kind of just driving in on that fact, that kind of just speculation and this, I don't want to say casino, but like this,
Yeah.
just like the allure of making money fast, kind of brings people in, and you kind of like shave off some of those people, like, that really, like, the tech nerds that kind of go into a rabbit hole of like a particular
Hmm.
protocol or like a technology in the space, and end up sticking in it, right? And that's a
Yeah.
job.
I
Yeah.
I think with just like anything, you're gonna have the crypto bros that show off their Lambos, and you want to chase after that, and with trading, it's just too risky. And I mean, if people really knew if you're paying for a course, you probably shouldn't be listening to that person, because that's where they're making their money. But I think, with stocks, my thinking has always been the three P's: product, people, and process. If you have a company that has all three, then they're probably going to do pretty well. Um, and so, Tesla's got, I mean, I just know everything about lean manufacturing. I know everything about design. I know how fast Tesla iterates on their designs versus like Ford or whatever. So I take those fundamentals, and I'm like, oh my God, they're iterating what would take Ford years into like a month. And so a company that's doing that and is like really pushing that's like a startup, but they're massive. So obviously the valuation, you can argue it's high or whatever, but the fact of the matter is that no one's even coming close to the fact that they have the people, they have the processes, and they have the product. And so if you follow all three within like crypto and do your research and see, like, is this is an actual, like, crypto thing or blockchain or whatever, like the technology, they've got the people there, the people are sticking around, they're really like working hard to make it happen, then, that's something that you should really look at and just, invest in that coin. Don't follow me for financial advice or anything. but yeah, I mean, it's I think I heard one one thing where they're using, what is it called, like blockchain for AI, human, like if a human gives a command to a robot, you want to use some type of blockchain to say, like, hey, this is it's coming from a human, not coming from AI, so you can trace the what's being like created in code
Yeah.
or yeah, it's I mean, I'm like,
Kinda
wow,
like
that's
proof
not
of
even
humanity or something.
yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
And so those are like those kind of things just that fascinates me and that's I think where the excitement is to where it's being used for actual usage versus some NFT of a monkey. This is like something that's actually being used that's useful, and I think that's where it's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I totally agree.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, unfortunately, we're coming to time here.
Yeah,
Just want to give you an opportunity to tell folks how they can basically follow along with Impact.io, how they can reach out to you if they're interested in hiring your services, and any
definitely.
final thoughts you might have for the audience here.
Yeah, you can follow me. We have our own YouTube channel called Make an Impact with three eyes. And we talk about, all our old war stories to, AI, UX, everything. You can check us out there. Follow me on LinkedIn. Reach out at, impact3eyes.io. Um, and, as far as like a final word of advice, I think, I think if you think about planning any kind of significant software initiative, um, I mean the cost of like doing upfront strategic work, especially if you just talk to me and just like, hey, what do you think, Makoto? Is this how would you approach this? Just a simple video call for 5 minutes, I can tell you right away kind of what's the best approach. But just following a proper process up front, like they say, if you had a chance to chop down a tree, what would you had 60 minutes to chop down a tree, what would you do for 50 minutes? You sharpen your axe. And the same thing here, you want to really like do the upfront strategy. Otherwise you're going to be spending millions of dollars and time, and you're going to be losing, especially nowadays. So it's kind of like an insurance policy for software success. So that's pretty much it.
Excellent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well said. Well said. And yeah, I guess that's a great way for us to kind of take off into the weekend. And with that, just want to wish everybody a very happy Friday, happy weekend, wherever you may be. Makoto, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to come on the show.
Yeah, thanks
We
for
really
having me.
appreciate it.
Everybody
Yeah,
enjoy their Labor Day holiday, and yeah,
yeah,
can't wait to we can't wait to hear the feedback.
that's right, that's right. And yeah, and like Makoto said, enjoy the long weekend if you have a long weekend, and we will catch you back here next week for another great episode of DevNTell. Till then, have a good one, folks.
Thanks everybody.
Cheers. Bye.